Good morning. This is the Blaine's World podcast that can be found each week on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. You can also listen on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And you get more information and listen to previous shows on our website, which is www.blainesworld.net. I'm your host, Blaine Greenfield. I'm here in my Zoom studio in lovely downtown Fairview, North Carolina. Each week, we focus on positive news and information about people and organizations in both Western North Carolina and throughout the country. And to that end, it's my pleasure to introduce two of my friends, and they are Mike Martinelli and Edwin Arnaudin. And you guys can wave to all your fans and friends who might be watching this. Okay, and that's Mike and Edwin. And they're both film critics of note. Edwin, followed the last several years, is not only with Mountain Express, he writes articles for them as well, but you also write your own, I guess, site that people can read your reviews, Edwin?
Yes, at ashevillemovies.com.
Okay, and just a terrific site if you want to read what's happening in movies, and we'll talk a little bit about that at the end, Edwin, but thank you for running that site. And Mike is the guy I go to in terms of if I want recommendations on movies, not only movies, on shows, on TV shows. He's one of the more knowledgeable guys I know about all these different topics. And the great thing about Mike, Edwin, I don't know if you know this, but even if you don't want to know his opinion, you're going to get it anyway, so Mike will tell you
Yep.
opinion. And the great thing about the two of you guys, I love it, and we saw this at lunch the other day, is that I gather you agree on some things, but you don't agree on all things. Would you say that's true?
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah, but we're kind of like the modern day Siskel and Ebert.
Okay, but isn't that one of the great things about movies that, exactly, but you can have different opinions on movies, and they're not necessarily right or wrong, they're just opinions. And I especially am grateful for you two guys being with me tonight, and this I have to give Mike credit for. It was his idea, but he said, we're doing this right before the Oscars. And the Oscars are coming up, this coming Sunday?
Yep.
Okay, great. And so we did this a couple of years ago with Mike, and we'll repeat it. But Edwin, you're now part of this this year. We're going to give our kind of local view of the Oscar races. And I guess in no particular order, but Mike, I'll defer to your recommendation that you said rather we'll kind of wait for the big films at the end, or the big awards. But I love your idea. Let's start at the other awards. I have to ask you, Mike, out of all the films, do you know how many total films are nominated in all the categories? Do you have a ballpark idea? Or Edwin, do you know?
I know there's 10 in Best Picture.
But I'm saying if you look at all the categories, how many films would you say? Ballpark, Edwin? 40?
30 to 40. 30
Okay.
to 40 probably, yeah.
And the incredible thing about you, and Mike's close second, out of 30 to 40 films, you've seen a lot of them. Would you say that's true?
I think all but 5 if we're counting original song, because there's one in there that a movie I've never even heard of, but otherwise, yeah, it just kind of comes down to some documentary, animated, and foreign films that we have kind of suspect access to at this point.
And even the original song, I'm anxious to see the film. I don't know if you saw it in my blog this week, Mike, but it's from a foreign film, right? I think an Indian film. And that's now on Netflix, I think, right? What's the name of that film?
RRR.
Yeah, have you seen it yet?
I haven't, but I actually went in and watched all the music videos, and the song from that movie is absolutely awesome.
Is it? And you actually saw the film, Edwin?
Oh yeah, it's a 3-hour Indian film, so I don't expect Mike to see it because of the subtitles and the frantic action. But yeah, I'm glad you saw the song, because it's an amazing dance number, and there's a lot of other just crazy action set pieces in there. So if you can kind of cut through the subtitles and just like see the highlights, I think you'll have a good time with it. But it's just this exaggerated, crazy action movie. I hope I get to see it in theaters, because it's coming back to theaters pretty soon, I think, and it's a little bit better than seeing it in your living room.
There was a lot of controversy that India did not submit that for Best Picture. For international feature, they submitted another film.
Right.
So a lot of people were really upset that this film did not make the final cut, but it was India's choice not to submit it.
Right. Yeah.
Let me ask you both a question, talking about subtitles. And do you have a preference now? Because with Netflix, now, when I was a kid, Edwin, it used to be, I'd only want to see film with subtitles, but now I've kind of gone back. I'd prefer dubbed. it seems more of a trend, especially with Netflix, that most of the films are being dubbed. Are you seeing that, Mike?
I am. I've noticed that there's a dub version of All Quiet on the Western Front, which I've not seen yet, but I know they have a dub version.
And I guess, Edwin, as a purist, you prefer the original version with the original language?
I do. There's some foreign Japanese animated films from Studio Ghibli that usually, like the Hayao Miyazaki films, they usually get some really good US or British actors to do those dub versions. So those are kind of on their own level. But yeah, just with this Netflix just pushing things out into the world, they're getting actors from all over the globe to go dub these versions. So now you've got, I don't know, if you stay through the end of the Netflix credits, you see something like 20 countries recognized at the end, and they've cast actors from all those countries. So you can see it, regardless of where you are, which is pretty exciting. But yeah, I definitely prefer the original if I can get it.
And the incredible thing you just pointed out with the Netflix films is the dubbing, I think, is good, if not very good. I didn't realize you said they hire pretty big talent to do this.
Well, I can't speak to who Netflix hires,
right.
But I would think that they would do their homework, just because so many people are going to be listening to it. So if they pick some people that aren't so great about it, then they're gonna hear some angry viewers.
Okay. And we digress, but I'll go back to Mike's recommendation. So I have the whole list of films. I'll start at the very bottom of, I guess, my list, Mike. And the all important thing that everybody's battling for: makeup and hairstyling. Okay, and it's interesting. I see the two of you have kind of interesting contrast. Hair, your hair, and then you have me with the bald look. But makeup and hairstyling, I guess we'll start off with Mike. Do you have a recommendation or a choice on that?
Yeah, I think that it's going to go to Elvis. I think his hairstyle and the makeup and how they made him look like Elvis is really going to do well. And it actually won the award, the Guild Award for Best Makeup and Hairstyling.
And Edwin, same question. You have a choice?
I agree with Mike. Yeah, I think it's that kind of classic biopic period piece that kind of calls for styles from a different time, and they whatever you think of Elvis, if you love it or hate it, I think we can all agree that the makeup and hairstyling is one of its best parts. So it seems like a no-brainer to me.
Okay. I'll talk more about Elvis, but I'd rather hold on it until some other discussion. But I think a fun film to watch. Production design. Let me ask you, Edwin. I don't even know, what exactly is production design?
It's the sets and the props, and so it's kind of everything that the actors interact with. And sometimes there's some debate, Mike can speak to this maybe, of special effects being part of production design, because there is a lot of thought put into some of these, something like Avatar, which is nominated in this category. It's that was all done on green screens, basically. There's not hardly any tangible item there, whereas something like All Quiet on the Western Front or Babylon, everything is something that the actors could touch. So there's varying degrees of it, but it's just basically kind of what surrounds the actors, and all that is done by the production designer. It's all very intentional. It's like going to see a play at Flat Playhouse, and you're like, okay, well, who chose the art that's on the wall? Who chose this vase that's on the table? Who chose the table? That's all production design.
You have a choice on that category?
I think it's going to be Babylon that wins. I think it's kind of been sweeping the guilds as far as I can tell, and there's a lot of attention to detail. And that's another one, kind of like Elvis, where it's just this chaotic, music-filled movie. And one thing that I think even the people that hate it can agree on is that there was a lot of attention to detail. So yeah, Babylon for sure.
Mike, your choice?
I second that. I didn't see Babylon yet, and I hadn't seen 3 of those films, but I kind of went and looked at snippets on YouTube, and I agree, Babylon has the best production design. the sets and everything that they did.
And that's one I have to say I can't even give an intelligent opinion on, because I know, for example, I refuse to see Avatar. I just don't want to see it. I didn't like the first one, and saying this is the first one, but saying your film, people can miss it, Edwin.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just they're not even really movies. They're just showcase for technology. It's just, James Cameron's just showing off his digital toys basically, and he's just telling terrible narratives that there's nobody to care about. It's just 3 hours of just sitting and watching eye candy. And so that some people loved it. I mean, obviously it's made what $1 billion or $2 billion. I don't even know at this point. So it's connecting with some people, but after this one, I'm not going to watch any more of the Avatar movies. This was it for me. It was very liberating.
Well,
and a little tidbit for you, Blaine.
Please.
Originally, production design was called art direction. They changed the category maybe 10 years ago, but it used to be art direction.
And my thinking was I hated the first one. It was too long. And this is the first one, plus it's longer than the first one.
Yeah, it's about the same. I mean, it's people are asking me, I think maybe even Mike too, saying like, oh, should I see it in 2D? I don't like 3D. I hate wearing the glasses. Like, no, the only reason you would see this would be to see the special effects. And even then it's kind of mind numbing after a while.
And, it's a perfect segue into the next category, and also can be mind numbing, is sound. And we'll talk about sound. And Mike, your choice in sound.
Probably All Quiet on the Western Front. The Academy generally nominates and awards sound to either a war movie or a musical. There really wasn't a musical this year. And it's actually used to be two categories. It used to be sound mixing and sound editing. And 2 years ago, they combined it into one category. But I think it's going to be All Quiet on the Western Front.
And Edwin, your call?
We're in lockstep so far. Yeah, I think it's All Quiet just has so many nominations. I think 9 total, or maybe 11. I'm trying to remember. But I would say Top Gun Maverick is the closest in competition, perhaps. I think there's some speculation that it's going to do well in the technical categories, but it just didn't get some of the nominations that All Quiet did. And so I think it's going to, be an also ran this time. And yeah, all Quiet for sound.
It's funny you talk about sound, because I liked Top Gun. My wife didn't. And her initial reaction was it was too loud, so I guess some of the film was loud, but that was definitely a loud film, so interesting one. Here's one again. I haven't seen all the films, but film editing. Edwin, your choice on that.
Let's see. Film editing. I'm going with Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think sometimes in this category, they reward most editing instead of necessarily best editing. But, this is a film that I'm sure we'll get into more later, but it's one that I like. But it is one that is chopping between all these different multiverses. So there is a lot of craft involved in putting all of these different scenes together so that it makes sense. And, as much as I like Tar, which is also nominated in this category, and I think even Elvis is very good at editing too. It's putting together quite a bit of different, it's a Baz Luhrmann film, so you're going to be dealing with a lot of different visuals. But I do think that Paul Rogers' work on Everything Everywhere All at Once is just a step above the rest. I mean, it was a unique challenge. I think he rose to the occasion.
Mike, your call?
I agree. I think it's a two-way race. I think it's between Everything Everywhere All at Once and Elvis. But I really think, even though I hated the movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once will win because the editing in the film was brilliant. It's one of those movies that I did not like the movie, but there's great qualities about it, like the editing and the acting is phenomenal.
And here's another film. I saw The Coming Attractions, and that was enough for me. Anything, Mike, when you get into something I don't understand, it's like almost mystical, I'm out of, it's just, yeah, exactly. I could pass on that, Edwin. And here's another category. I love it. In terms of I can honestly say I have no idea of what it's about. Live action short, everybody's favorite category. I'm amazed. You laugh next on Sunday night. I'm amazed they don't put that the last category for the night, And now the outstanding winning for live action short. And I'll put Mike on the spot, even in terms of seeing them. Have you seen any of those?
I've seen all of them except for An Irish Goodbye. That's the only one that was not available to stream. Actually, of the four that I saw, my favorite was The Red Suitcase. But what I think is going to win is Les Pupilles. It was very well done, but I honestly, if I had a vote, and my choice would be The Red Suitcase.
And Edwin, your choice on that?
I think it's going to come down to Les Pupilles and An Irish Goodbye, and I think An Irish Goodbye is going to win. I think this is one of those categories that it's a little bit up in the air. It's not a sure thing like many of the other categories are. And Mike, I hope you get to see it because it is kind of this very complete film. It's like 27 minutes, but it feels like it tells a full story in that time span. And I also think that the other Irish nominees this year, which include The Quiet Girl, an international feature, and The Banshees of Inisherin, and I don't know, 9 or 10 other categories, I don't think they're going to win anything. So I think this is kind of the chance to reward Ireland for its filmmaking. And I think the Academy is going to do that.
And I think what it has in its favor over Les Pupilles is the fact that it won BAFTA.
Yeah.
It won BAFTA 2 weeks ago. So I think that is going to play in the favor of it winning Oscar because there's a lot of the same voters.
Except, I was going to say, Les Pupilles, though, has the advantage of being made by Alfonso Cuarón as a co-director, and it's available on Disney Plus, so people have seen it. Whereas Irish Goodbye, like you said, you haven't seen it because it's not available. So it's kind of like, well, how do you factor that in? So I think it's going to be one of those two for sure.
Yeah, I have to give you both credit. You guys are the only ones I know who watch all these films, long and short. And Mike, sometimes I'll call Mike up and he can't speak to me because you're watching it on Netflix or he's watching it on Amazon. You're so funny, Edwin. I called Mike the other day and we couldn't get together because that was the only time he could see a film. He wanted to see it before the awards. And Mike, I have to give you credit. I asked Edwin if he's the same too. But Mike is the only guy I know who watches every single award show, and not only that, he gets angry with the results. He'll say he liked the show, but he's really peeved at the results. Edwin, do you watch all the award shows?
I used to for a long time, and then and I would take it personally too when my favorite didn't win. And then I just got to a point. I remember it was the 2011 Oscars, and the nominees just were so different from what I thought should win, especially in Best Actor. I think there was Gary Oldman and Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy was the only nominee that I was like, yeah, that he deserves it, because there were just so many others. And that was one of those times where I was like, well, I don't need them. Just because this is what the Oscars say doesn't mean that's how I feel. Like, they don't have to be one and the same. And so that was kind of where I diverged, but I still love watching, and I get invested, and I shout things at the television when I don't get my way and all that. So yeah, I can definitely understand, and I respect Mike's passion and drive. And I mean, there's a lot of fun watching the BAFTAs, watching the SAGs, watching the Directors Guilds. It's just it's a good time, and you get to see a lot of fun people. And I think Mike's got a better understanding of this whole awards thing than I do, and he watches what Gold Derby and these other sites are doing throughout the year and kind of keeps track of it. And I'm more kind of playing catch up at the end and going by instinct. So it's kind of fun to have different styles.
And I don't mean to insult Mike, but sometimes he'll ask me, do I want his predictions on all these other award shows? And no, Mike, thanks. Let's just hold it for the Oscars, But I'm telling you, I don't know what you find in Mike, but there must be 17 shows you're commenting on, and he really gets invested, like you said, and he gets upset. He loved the show, but damn, how come they chose this one category? So I love your passion, Mike. It's the best.
Really, the main ones that I watch are the Golden Globes, Critics' Choice, SAG, and the Oscars.
Well, listen,
BAFTA and DGA are usually not available to watch.
What? Well, isn't there an international one too? The International Film
That's BAFTA,
oh,
and that's
okay.
usually not available the day that it's actually live. You have to maybe catch it on YouTube the day after.
Now, the next category is interesting because I did see these films, and I'll ask you before we talk about the category, animated short, Edwin, I'll ask you to give a shout out, if I can, to 2 local theaters, because I think they both deserve credit. I mean, all the theaters are great and they run lots of films, lots of chances to see them, but there are 2 independent theaters in the area. If you can just comment on them, because this is where I see a lot of these films. And I'm talking about Fine Arts and The Grail. Could you comment about those 2 theaters, Edwin?
Oh, they're just a tremendous asset to the community. And, Fine Arts has been a staple here since 94, I think is when they reopened as an arts theater. So, they've been going a long time. That was formative to young Edwin as a budding cinephile in high school and, coming home from college, whatnot. So they're a big part of my history. And then, once the Grail Movie House came along, I guess, right at 6 years ago, I think, or no, coming up on 7 years ago. I mean, they've really enhanced the scene too, because they're willing to take risks. They've got more screens. They can show smaller movies. And so with them and, Asheville Brewing having 2 screens now, and we've got our good big box theaters, we're a top 20 market in the country. And it's really nice to live in a small town, an arts rich town, and have access to things that my colleagues in Chicago, New York, LA have access to. So it's because of those 2 theaters that we're so blessed.
Now, let me ask you, you have a better feel for this than Mike would, but in terms of seeing films, I think I know your answer, but I'll ask it anyway. The preference to see it in a theater, or you being a critic have access to sometimes films at home that we don't have access to. Preference in terms of where do you want to watch it?
If I could watch everything in a theater, I would. I mean, even my late mentor, Ken Hankey, and I would always say that we would rather see a Woody Allen film on the big screen than at home, even though it's, his films are so dialogue heavy. And, but there's still something that benefits from being in that environment and seeing it the way that the filmmakers wanted you to see it. They didn't design it for you to see it on your laptop or your phone or your TV, no matter how good your TV is. Like they designed it to be projected. So I guess I'm a fuddy-duddy purist on that too.
Now, I'll ask Mike the question as well. In terms of seeing a film, how about in terms of reaction of other people in the audience? Because oftentimes when I see a film, there aren't too many people in the audience. I'll see a matinee. But do you like seeing a film, Mike, when you see a film in a jam-packed theater, or would you rather see it few people in the theater or at home? You have a preference?
I like seeing it in the theater. I end up seeing it more at home because it always seems to work out that there'll be nothing that I want to see for like weeks. And then all of a sudden, everything will open on the same weekend and I can't get to see everything. That's a perfect example of this is The Whale.
Right.
I've not seen that film. Oscar week, it got nominated on Tuesday. By Friday, it was gone from local movie theaters and I never got to see it. And it's available for streaming, but for $20. So I prefer to support theaters if I can.
And perfect introduction to the next category, because I did see these films in a local theater. I think I saw them at the Grail, but it was, and this was fun. I didn't think I'd like it, Edwin, but animated short. And there were some, I thought, really interesting films in that category. Yep. Do you have a preference in there?
Well, my favorites of the bunch probably won't win, but they were Ice Merchants and Ostrich Told Me the World is Fake, and I think I believe it. But I think the one that's going to win is my third favorite, which is The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse.
And Mike, you have a choice?
Yeah, I the only one I didn't see was Ostrich because was not available to stream anywhere. But I agree. I think The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse will win. And wonderful film with a great theme. It's a theme about different kinds of animals in society that get along that would not normally get along. It really expresses how to love one another when you're different. And I think that's it's just beautifully done.
Mhm.
I've told several people, if you don't have Apple TV, it's worth paying for 1 month to get it just to watch this film.
The thing I can't wait to see, Edwin, is on Oscars when they announce the films in that choice, in that category. In particular, can you imagine? But can you imagine if the one film, and I'll put you on the spot, one film I'm referring to is what?
My year of beeps.
But it's not beeps. And the funniest thing, Edwin, I didn't get it. I'm watching the movie. Well, you can say it. The Mike's old enough to hear the word. It's my year of
dicks.
And can you imagine if that wins? It was so funny to hear the results the next night. But I couldn't believe it, Mike. I'm watching the shorts, and then this was the fourth in the series. They have an announcement on the screen. If you have any children with you, send them out of the theater, right? Which is okay. But then they had one after that, which I didn't understand. They should have made that the fifth film, so people could just leave at that point in time. But wouldn't that be something if that film won? It would get a lot of notoriety.
It was very interesting the morning of the announcements when the guy that was doing the announcements read it, and it was hilarious. Go back on YouTube and try to pull it up because it was really funny.
Yeah, and that's another thing, Edwin. Michael called me up in the morning, the night before. Are you going to be watching the announcements at 7:45? And I don't know about you, Edwin. I can wait, to read about it. Mike, you have to, right? You watch him every year, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
And then Mike does a whole another thing. I love it. He writes about it on Facebook. He comments about it. He's happy with this, that. But this person was robbed, and how come they didn't get it? I love your passion about it, Mike. It's the best. But an interesting category. Costume design, fun category. You have a choice, Mike, in costume design.
Elvis. I think Elvis will win this. I think the costumes from Elvis Presley era were just wonderful, and it won the Guild Award for costume design.
Edwin?
Agreed. Yeah, I think there's some competition with Babylon or Black Panther, but yeah, I think Catherine Martin's won this category a few times, I think, for Baz Luhrmann films. So that seems like a pretty easy choice.
I don't know if it got nominated in other categories, and I don't think it deserves winning in costume design, but Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris was a fun film. I enjoyed it.
It is actually nominated in this category.
No, but it did get nominated in any other categories?
No, that was the only nomination it got was costume design.
Did you see that, Edwin?
Yeah, I wish I hadn't.
Okay, I enjoyed it. Okay, cinematography. Edwin, a recommendation in there.
Yeah, this is the funny category because a lot of the front runners or perceived front runners weren't nominated, like Top Gun Maverick. So this is another one that I think All Quiet on the Western Front is going to win. I think it's got so much support behind it with those other nominations. It's won the Guild stuff, but I think, I would prefer it if Bardo won. I think it's the only nomination that Bardo got, and it's a beautiful film. Empire of Light's a beautiful film too, and Tar. And so I don't know. It's not my choice, but I think All Quiet is going to win.
Tar looked interesting coming attractions, but I haven't seen it. I heard a lot of negative things about it. Do you recommend seeing it, Tar?
You have to kind of want the challenge. It's just kind of if you want to wrestle with this kind of toxic celebrity for 2.5 hours and something that's also kind of a ghost story at the same time, it's great. I mean, it's in my top 10 for the year. I loved it. We'll get to it some more once we get to lead actress, but it's some people that I thought would like it didn't like it, so it's not something I'm trying to shove down anybody's throat by any means. But I thought it was a very challenging film in a way that I, as a viewer, look forward to. So yeah, for me it was great. It was critic catnip, but I don't think it's for it's not for everybody by any means.
I love it, critic catnip. Mike, you're feeling on Tar. Did you like it?
I did not like it. I watched half of it one night and it dragged. And I decided to try to finish it the next day. And I got like 20 minutes into it and I says, this is not going to work. So no, it is in my top 10 of least favorite films of last year.
And let me give you both a compliment. And one of the things I love about both of you is that aside from reading the stuff you write, I guess, Ed, when you get a lot, and you get it from me and Mike does as well, that people will call you up and ask you for a recommendation.
Yeah, I love it. It's funny, you'll be out at parties or just, having supper with friends or family, and they'll be like, well, you probably don't want to talk about this because you talk about it all the time. I'm like, no, I love talking about movies. Let's talk about movies. Like, let's, just ask me anything.
And we can mention one other thing too that I've just become involved in, and I'd like you mention it, but if you like Edwin's thoughts on movies, and you will, what's another way to follow you in terms of stuff you write about on movies?
Yeah, if you want to throw a few bucks my way and my co-writer James Rosario's way, we're at patreon.com/Asheville Movies, and that's a way that you can directly support our writing, keep us going to the movie theater, support our website, all that, because we're just independent critics, and we don't, we've kind of made our own home, and we're just kind of looking for our own fundraising. So every dollar's appreciated. Blaine and Mike are, we're very happy to have you as supporters, and sounds like you're enjoying what you're getting so far, and I hope that stays that way.
And one of the things I'm so grateful for, I'll come to Mike in a second, but also that you're doing this because years ago, it used to be you'd read reviews in the local papers. You don't have that anymore. And what a shame. I love Mountain Express did great reviews. Citizen Times did great reviews, and they're not there anymore. So if you want to read some good stuff, follow Edwin. But Mike, I'll also mention to you, and throw a bone too, that if folks want to follow your thoughts and opinions on stuff, best is to follow you on Facebook, or is there a way?
Follow me on Facebook. Yeah, I do all my stuff on Facebook. And it automatically goes to Instagram, but it's everything's on Facebook.
Okay, and again, if you want to read Mike's opinions, you won't agree with it all the time, but you'll know one of the great things, Mike, about your stuff, you'll know pretty much where you stand, very quickly. Mike, you'll see, is a man of a few opinions, I would say, and not just if you read him on Facebook, not just about movies, but life. You'll learn about Mike. So we talked about, let's see, we did cinematography. We didn't do screenplay yet. Is that correct?
Well,
screenplay. Yeah.
I think we need Mike's prediction for cinematography.
Oh,
right?
I'm sorry. Yeah, Mike, you're cool.
Yeah, I am gonna go with All Quiet on the Western Front for this one too. I think that from what I saw, the clips that I looked at, it looked like the cinematography was done very well, and I think it won the Guild Award for cinematography too.
Adapted screenplay, Mike.
Adapted screenplay is Women Talking. It won the WGA last night, and I think Sarah Pauly is going to win for this. I have not seen the film. I was going to watch it this week, and we had a power outage, so I didn't get to watch it yet, but I'm going to try to watch it before Sunday.
Edwin?
Yep, it's going to be Women Talking, I think, for a lot of the reasons that Mike said, but I have seen it. I saw it at a film festival back in October, and I was really taken with it. And it felt like a stage play that was translated to the screen, because it was just, it is what it says. It's women talking. It's about these women who are trying to decide if they want to leave an abusive commune that they live in. And you don't know if it's set in like 1750 or modern day. And it's packed with great performances, and big part of that is the writing. So yeah, I do hope Sarah Pauly wins. I think she will. I'm
debating that. It just doesn't look like what you call a real cheerful film to watch. It's
got more. It's a tough film, but there's a lot of humanity there. I think you'll find some more sunshine there than you're expecting.
A film in that category too. Maybe it's the only nomination it got, but I was kind of disappointed with was Glass Onion. Did you see that? Edwin,
Yep.
what do you think of it?
I loved it. I was not a huge fan of the first Knives Out. I thought it was fine. I thought it was just kind of a standard mystery, and I thought this one was a lot more entertaining. So I had a blast with it. I've seen it twice.
Mike, your call on that film?
I did not think it was that good. I didn't think the first one was that good either, but it was entertaining. You know, I thought the acting was really good in it, but I'm not quite sure why it got a screenplay nomination, but
That was I have a different opinion. I liked Edwin the first one more than the second one. I didn't get into the second one at all. But here's an interesting category, or one of the interesting categories: original screenplay. And again, I think the choices make it tough to choose a winner. Who do you choose in that, Edwin?
I'm pretty sure this is going to the Daniels for Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think if it was going to win one prize for the night, it would be this. So this seems like its strongest chance, but I think it's going to win a hell of a lot more than just this one category.
Mike, your call?
you know, I'm really torn. There's 3 films that I think really deserve to win. I think The Fabelmans was great. It's my favorite film of last year. I love Banshees of Inisherin. I think this would be the one category that they could honor Martin McDonagh for this film. But I really think that Everything Everywhere All at Once is going to win, because even though I did not like the movie, the concept and the originality of the story is great.
And next category, I'm sorry, I didn't get to see the films in, but it was the documentary, and I usually love documentaries. Mike, have you seen all the
I have not, so I'm going to pass on this one
Great.
to Edwin because I've not seen any of them.
Me either. Edwin, so it's all yours.
For documentary feature?
Yeah.
So I've seen all but 2. I've not seen All That Breathes, which I know is on HBO right now, and I've not seen A House Made of Splinters, which is I have a link for, but I don't think either are going to be in the running. I think it's going to be Navalny, which is also on HBO. It's about the Russian opposition leader that was running against Vladimir Putin, and then he was poisoned on a plane flight, and so it's they were kind of already filming him at that point, and then he gets poisoned, and then it's more about sort of trying to figure out who poisoned him. And so it's so cutting edge. And I think with everything going on with Ukraine and just, you know, global politics, it seems like it's got a really good shot. And I think it's one, Mike can correct me, I think it's won some key guild awards in these last couple of weeks, and so it seems like there's some momentum going for Navalny at this point.
It has, and on the Gold Derby site with the experts and the editors, they're mostly split with Navalny and Fire of Love. I will backtrack on what I said. I did see half of Fire with Love,
all right.
and felt like it really dragged, and it was like that was enough.
Yep. Next category is one of my favorites, and I'll introduce it this way in a second, but we're talking about original song. And the reason I like that, Edwin, so much, we're in for a treat now. Now I've asked Mike to prepare his version of all the original songs, and Mike, you're gonna sing them for us? No.
Not tonight.
Not tonight. Okay, some other time. But original song, Mike, do you have a choice?
Yeah, from the ones I watched, RRR, Not To. I think it's a great song. The video was wonderful. The thing in this category that everybody was puzzled with was where the nomination came for applause from a movie that half the people never even heard of called Tell It Like a Woman. I think it got the nomination because for I think the 14th time Diane Warren is nominated for Best Original Song. She's not going to win again, but I think that's the only reason that's in there.
Edwin, do you have a call on that one?
Yeah, I think it's going to be Not To. And I think once they perform it on Sunday night, people will understand like why it's going to win. It's just so energetic. But it seems like, you know, there's some star power here. We've got Rihanna you know, is part of the Black Panther team. Lady Gaga is part of the Top Gun team. David Byrne from Talking Heads and Mitski are part of the Everything Everywhere All at Once team. So we're going to see some famous people. There's probably going to be somebody famous that performs the Diane Warren song too. But I think Natu, I hope they do it justice live, but I think it's going to win either way.
Now, is that a Bollywood number?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, which I love. So okay, I'll look forward to it. But
and Natu won the Golden Globe and Critics' Choice both for original song.
And so, but the song is in Indian also?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, but actually, because I love Bollywood, you know, songs, so it should be fun. Music, the original score is always an interesting category. Do you have a call on that, Mike?
Original score, I'm probably going to go with Babylon. I think it's a toss-up between Babylon and All Quiet on the Western Front, but I think I'm going to go with Babylon.
Edwin?
I agree it's a toss-up, but I'm going to go with All Quiet. I think Justin Hurwitz won this category a couple years ago for La La Land, and if you know the La La Land score, you'll hear a lot of it in Babylon, which is kind of weird. And All Quiet on the Western Front there's not much of a score. It's more just kind of this kind of like Blade Runner style synth sounds going on. It's like Hans Zimmer kind of jumped over to Germany for this. But yeah, I think the Academy is gonna go with All Quiet on this one too. I think they'll just give production design for Babylon.
The one I'm surprised on, I guess I shouldn't be, is the fact that John Williams got nominated. I guess they just put his name in every year and just put John Williams. But it's funny, like Mike, I really enjoyed The Fabelmans, but the music I don't even recall any of the music, you know.
Same.
You know, it's a whatever. So I was surprised that category. The visual effects, also an interesting category. Do you have a preference, Edwin?
I'm pretty sure this is going to Avatar, just because I don't know, that again, that's all this movie is. Even though I think the other 4 nominees are you know, more notable achievements, I think I would give it to the Batman. Just I think that was a very well done superhero film that took me by surprise almost a year ago. Like I think it came out last March, so it's just kind of amazing that it's still in the conversation. But yeah, Avatar is gonna win an Oscar, unfortunately.
And Mike?
I agree. I think it's going to be Avatar. The one thing about this category that I don't understand is why Everything Everywhere All at Once was not nominated in this category. The visual effects in that movie are amazing.
Oh yeah.
But it did not get the nomination for some odd reason.
And finally, there's a category that at least I know some of the films, I know some of the names, but now we get into quote some of the more major categories, I guess, if you will. Best Supporting Actress. Do you have preference or a prediction, Mike?
I am going to go with Kerry Condon from Banshees of Inisherin. One, I thought she was amazing in that movie. 2, she won BAFTA 2 weeks ago. There's a lot of sentiment for Angela Bassett and Jamie Lee Curtis, but I honestly think that the sentiment's going to cancel them out with each other. So I'm going to go with Kerry Condon.
Edwin, your prediction?
I think it's going to be Jamie Lee Curtis. I think it's going to be viewed as a career honor. You know, she hasn't been in a lot of Oscar films in her career, and it's definitely been a while. And I think she's really good in this film. I prefer Stephanie Sue, her younger co-star in the film, but I will not be mad to see Oscar winner Jamie Lee Curtis as, you know, her marquee name from now on.
And the same thing too. I haven't seen the film, but Angela Bassett is just such a magnificent actor. You know, I just love her work. So I'd like to see her get something somewhere down the line. Original screenplay, Mike, call?
Original screenplay, I think that it is probably going to go to Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. It was very original. And I think we did this already, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
Oh,
We did that
it-
already.
It repeated. Sorry about that. Okay.
That's
Yeah.
okay.
I think the minor one we didn't get to was short film documentary.
Okay. We'll call it, Edwin. Somehow it wasn't on my list. And then we also didn't do animated feature, but go ahead with the short film documentary, Edwin.
Okay. Documentary short. I think it's going to be Stranger at the Gate. It's a film that's got Malala as I think executive producer. So there's some prestige there, and it's a really interesting story. I don't want to spoil it, but it's kind of it's a very tense story of this guy in Indiana who was planning to blow up a Muslim cultural center, and you kind of can't believe what actually happened. So yeah, I think that's the front runner right now.
Mike, did you see that?
I saw it. I saw everything except How Do You Measure a Year. They were all good, but my favorite was The Elephant Whispers. It's a sweet story of an Indian couple that raise these two baby elephants, and it's actually also one of those Netflix films that's dubbed, which is really nice because and it's just a very sweet, loving movie.
Now, another category I missed, guys. I'm sorry about this, but I didn't hit best animated feature. I don't think we talked about that yet. And I know I got your opinion on that the other day, Edwin. So I'll start off with you about Pinocchio. You know, it hit you. So you didn't love Pinocchio.
No, I loved it. Woo.
Well, the other category, the others in that category, do you have a preference?
Oh gosh, I would love to see Turning Red or Marcel the Shell with Shoes on win, but it's going to be Pinocchio. It's been a clean sweep. I don't think it's lost in anything. I mean, I'm trying to think of even like a fringe thing it's lost in, and I don't get the appeal. It's just the songs are corny. The kid drives me up the wall. They just shoehorn in this fascism subplot, which I know is key to a lot of Guillermo del Toro films, but it just feels so forced in here, and it just kind of made me realize I'm just not really fond of Pinocchio as a story overall. It kind of creeped me out as a kid, but I thought I would grow out of that, and now I'm just watching two Pinocchio films this year. We had that live action one with Tom Hanks as crazy old Geppetto that's that Robert Zemeckis did of all people, and so we've had to endure two Pinocchios this year, and I don't know. I don't
and
get
Mike,
it.
You're cool in that category.
I've not seen any of them,
Okay.
but I'm going to go with Pinocchio only because what Edwin said, it's won everything that it's been nominated at, and I've heard very mixed things. I've heard more negative things of people that didn't like it that liked it, but I'm just going to go with Pinocchio because it's won all the industry awards so far.
In perfect timing, as we kind of are trying to wind down here a little bit, we get into some of the quote more major categories. And let me ask you, Edwin, even in terms of the change, what used to be best foreign film, now they call it international film. Why was the change?
Why was the change?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it was just for more inclusivity. I think it was just instead of saying, "Oh, you're foreign," you're outside of the United States. Oh, you're international. You're just part of the world. So I think it was just more of a welcoming phrase, and I'm all for it.
You have a recommendation? I guess not even more a prediction. What do you think in that category?
I think this is All Quiet on the Western Front all the way. I think this is one of its sure things, but I do wish that The Quiet Girl from Ireland had a shot. That's going to open at the Fine Arts Theater in a week or two, and it's just a devastating drama. It was, I don't cry at a lot of films, but I was in tears at the end of this one. It was well earned, and I think that other people in Asheville are going to enjoy seeing this in a couple weeks.
Let me ask you this. in terms of seeing the film, again, one of the reasons I love watching on Netflix or Amazon, I have subtitles. That film in the theater probably doesn't have subtitles, I would imagine.
It does.
Oh, does it? Okay, good.
So it's some of it's in English and some of it's in Gaelic. And so the Gaelic is subtitled. So I'd say it's probably 70% Gaelic and 30% English, perhaps. But it's pretty easy to understand overall. Yeah.
Mike, do you have a choice in that category?
I haven't seen any of them, but everything that Edwin said about All Quiet in the Western Front, I agree. That's the one category that this film is guaranteed to win Sunday night.
And still in that category, the one film I saw All Quiet, but I also saw Close. And I think I mentioned to Edwin, I have kind of mixed feelings on that film, but I love the main actor, is just amazing.
Sure.
You know, kid, what do you think about the film Close?
I really liked it once the plot kicked in. It was just kind of meandering for the first 20, 30 minutes. It felt kind of like a Terrence Malick knockoff for a little bit. But yeah, I thought, you know, I'm pretty hard on child actors. I just think there's too much that's asked of them and they can't handle the emotional toll that's often part of the script. But I felt like, yeah, both of the young leads, the one that we get to spend a lot of time with and the one that we get to spend not so much time with, were really excellent. I mean, I've seen everything in this category except for Argentina 1985, which is on Amazon. And I know a lot of people like EO, which is known as That Donkey Film, because it follows this donkey from different owners, and it's well done. I think people at the Grail like really fell for it. I think if the Grail took a survey from their customers' favorite films of the last year, that would be in the top 5.
Best supporting actor, Mike. Talk a little bit about it.
This is the one category that is a lock of all the acting. Everything else is really up in the air in the acting categories, but this one definitely is the Asian guy, Ki Hei Quinn from Everything Everywhere All at Once. He's amazing in this movie. What's really nice about him was he was a child actor for Steven Spielberg, and he was in The Goonies, and I can't remember the other movie he was in, but he was in Indiana Jones, and that was his first film.
Temple of Doom. Yeah, short round.
He kind of just disappeared. He wasn't getting called for anything. And when he got called for this film, he didn't think he would get it. And I got to tell you, his acceptance speeches on the award shows where he's won have been just wonderful. He's very emotional, very warm, and very, very loving. This is the one acting category that's a lock.
Is this also the guy who is also very, very old? Is that the one?
No.
There's one actor up for an award. He's won some stuff. He's like 96. He's in one of the films. Is in everything. Do you know who I'm talking about? There's one actor.
Oh, James Hong, right. I think. Yeah, he plays the grandfather in the film. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and his 94, 96, whatever he's acting. Do you have a choice in that category, Edwin?
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be short round for Everything Ever All at Once. And yeah, it's been a pleasure watching him reunite with Spielberg on the red carpet and all this. And I think that's going to be one of the more emotionally rich speeches of the night. It's just what a story. And I think it's very well deserved too. And I mean, this was a part that was originally meant for Jackie Chan, and then the Daniels went in a different direction and kind of cast someone a little bit more, you know, kind of squeaky and with a different past. And wow, I think it really paid off.
And the one I don't get in that category, even though he's one of my favorite actors, was Judd Hirsch. You know, he was good in the role, but it was like what, 10 minutes?
5 minutes,
yeah. You know, so I didn't get that, but great actor, but I don't see him winning it. It's funny how they put this now before the film, but the best director, who's your call on that, Mike?
Me. I know Edwin and I are going to definitely disagree on this. I would love to see Spielberg win for The Fabelmans because I think he did a brilliant job directing it. I also think it would be awesome because if they follow tradition, Jane Campion, who won last year for The Power of Dog, will probably give Best Director. and they were competitors 2 times. He won once, she won once. Mm-hmm. And it would be the highlight of the night if she gives Best Director and he wins. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be the 2 guys from Everything Everywhere All at Once. But the interesting thing about this category, and I don't ever remember this happening before, in the major awards, they've all had different winners for Best Director.
Oh, really? Interesting. Mm-hmm. And now we'll see, forgetting other major awards, the most important opinion is, of course, on Blaine's World. And Edwin, your opinion on Best Director?
Kind of a similar take to Mike. I mean, I think it's, Spielberg directing his own story as a young filmmaker is just, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity, and it was even better than I expected. And I thought it could have been so sappy, it could have been so maudlin, and it just wasn't. And I think he and Tony Kushner developed this amazing screenplay, and then they just put together a cast and crew that could carry it out in a emotionally rich and honest feeling way. So I would love if he won it, and we're kind of been trained to have a different winner for director and picture, as Mike has said, but it does seem like, just based on the guilds, that the Daniels are going to win for Everything Everywhere All at Once. I feel like they're going to have a lot of prizes elsewhere, screenplay, acting, whatnot. In a perfect world, that would be enough. And Spielberg is still, I mean, Spielberg hasn't won Best Director since Saving Private Ryan in 1999, and people act like he's gotten one every year. It's kind of like the Meryl Streep syndrome, where it's like, oh, well, hasn't she gotten enough? It's like, well, no, actually, she hasn't gotten one since 1980. And then when she finally got one again for playing Margaret Thatcher, it's like, oh, I guess it has been that long. So it's a kind of a similar thing. And Spielberg has done great work, and he's had this amazing recent run with this and West Side Story, and he's on a run, and he's still very youthful. He's still very active. So it kind of stinks that he's probably not going to win for telling his story. You kind of want this Cameron Crowe Almost Famous, like, let's honor the guys for like really passionately telling their story in a creative way. But I just don't see it going that way.
And shout out if you can, and I know Mike, I think, agrees with me on this too, about the film, but also Edwin, about 2 of the performances in the film that have to be seen. And they are, talk about supporting actor at the very end. I think the guy, talk about the guy at the end.
Oh, about David Lynch popping up as John Ford. Yeah, which I put that down on my Critics Guild ballots as Best Supporting Actor. I think I had him as like 2nd or 3rd, because I was just so taken with his 5 minutes of humor.
I almost stole the film, just great. Gosh. And
what
then
a perfect ending.
I was disappointed, Mike. I don't know how you feel, but the guy, name's escaping me, but the guy who played the father, I thought was just so good.
Paul Dano. Yeah. Honestly, he should have gotten the supporting actor nomination over Judd Hirsch. Judd Hirsch,
for
that one scene that he had was more of a sentimental nomination than anything else.
Paul Dano, I thought was great in the whole film, and disappointed. Best Actress. Mike, who do you have in the Best Actress category?
Oh, Lord, I'm struggling with this one. I really am. I'm torn, because I loved Michelle Yeoh in Everything Everywhere All at Once. She's been around for a long time. But I have to tell you, to me, the best performance was Andrea Riseborough to Leslie. That nomination that caused all that hysteria in Hollywood as to why she got the nomination. Her performance in that movie, in my opinion, was just absolutely amazing. Being in recovery, it is a true story of a woman in Texas who wins a lottery and loses everything that she won, and her family and everything, because she's an active alcoholic. And I think that she played an active alcoholic brilliant. And the Academy has really honored people playing alcoholics in the past. Elizabeth Taylor, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, Jack Lemmon, Days of Wine and Roses, Nicolas Cage, Leaving Las Vegas. So I don't know if there's an upset of the night. This may be it. Highly unlikely, but my second choice would be Michelle Yeoh.
And Edwin, your call?
Well, I like Mike's theory that Kate Blanchett and Michelle Yeoh are going to split the votes, and then Andrea Riseborough is just going to shoot through and take the statue, which would be an incredible story. And just, if a film that didn't get I guess they got a qualifying run, but it really didn't get any kind of push because there wasn't any money from this tiny studio that put it out. Like if that can win an Oscar, it's kind of like, wow, anything's possible. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to come down to Kate Blanchett, who I think gives the better performance, but she's won twice already. So I do think that Michelle Yeoh, who is giving kind of, as the title says, kind of 15 performances in one, and it's able to kind of meld together in this cohesive way. And it's kind of like with Jamie Lee Curtis, it's just, she's had a phenomenal career, and even outside of the US films she's had, like she was a Bond girl, she was in Crouching Tiger, she's been in some other films, but she has this rich Hong Kong history with Jackie Chan and some other kung fu performers over the years. So yeah, I think it's going to be Michelle Yeoh.
And there was a similar scenario in 1994 with a movie called Blue Sky. It was a film that was made that sat in Orion Pictures in the vault because Orion Pictures filed bankruptcy. And when they finally got it out of bankruptcy, it was released just to LA, New York, and very limited theatrical release. I got to see it in Tampa, but it ended up winning Jessica Lange her second Oscar. So that's why I think Andrea could actually squeeze in there, because it's a very similar pattern of what happened with Blue Sky.
Mike, you told me about the film, and I'm just wondering, is that available anywhere yet?
Leslie, it's on Amazon Prime for rental.
Oh, yeah. I draw the line, Edwin. I won't pay for rental on Amazon Prime, but that's funny. It's only on rental. Second to last category, Best Actor. Mike, if you would on that.
I really think Austin Butler will win for Elvis. He, right now it's kind of split. He won Golden Globe and he won BAFTA. Brendan Fraser won Critics' Choice and SAG. I think it's a toss-up between the two of them. It was a three-way race at one point with Colin Farrell, but I think he's out of the picture. I do think that in the end, they're going to honor Austin Butler. One, because I thought he was amazing at portraying Elvis. And I also think that, Hollywood and the Academy, I think, loved Elvis. And I think they're going to want to honor him somehow. And there may also be some sentiment for his daughter who passed away, Lisa Marie.
Edwin, your opinion?
I think this is Brendan Fraser's category, and I think it's kind of similar to some of these other actually, I guess all four actors that I think are going to win are kind of career achievement awards. And I think with a lot of them, there's kind of this comeback story. And, Brendan Fraser has not been in anything of note until recently for about, 10 years or so. And I think he's tremendous in The Whale. I think that was a film that was really touted even before it came out, because it's like, oh wow, we're gonna get to see Brendan Fraser in a starring role, with this prosthetic fat suit on, and there's just all this buzz around it. And I think the actual performance that you get is way different from whatever you imagine. I think it's way more tragic and heartfelt and well earned. And I think the last 5 minutes, that was another film from this past year that left me in tears, and several other people that I know were moved by it that way too. So I think Austin Butler, he's very good. It's a star-making role. It's the best part of Elvis, but he's very young. He's got a long career ahead of him. Brendan Fraser, it's kind of like, is he going to get another shot? So I think the Academy is going to say, okay, let's give Fraser the Oscar while we still can. And I think Butler, 10, 15 years, I think he'll be back in this category, maybe a few times.
I loved Mike's reaction that after they announced that I guess Fraser won something, Mike was cursing. He was all upset. I said, how come Butler didn't win it? I said, Mike, he hadn't yet seen the Fraser film. I said, how can you be upset if you haven't seen the film? The one other guy in that category, I just love him, almost a career award, help me with the pronunciation of his last name. Nige, is that how you pronounce it?
Nye, actually.
But Nye,
Nye,
excuse me.
yeah.
Just love him in anything he's in. Did you see that film, Mike?
I did not. It's
Okay.
not available to stream, and it was another one that is not playing in town.
Did you see it, Edwin?
I did, yeah. It kind of made its way through the fine arts and Grail kind of quickly, I think. But yeah, it's a remake of Ikiru, the Akira Kurosawa film about this bureaucrat who kind of discovers the joy of life kind of a little too late, and it's just a very touching film. So I highly recommend that one.
And see that one, Mike, if you get a chance. I think you'll love it. And the last category, of course, drum roll, is Best Picture. And Mike's been promising me something he wanted to discuss a little bit before we talk about the choice.
Yeah, I'm going to do some screen shares.
Okay,
in 2010, the Oscars went with a preferential ballot, and it is you have to enable. It says the screen shares are disabled.
I show it on my end. You're allowed to.
There it goes. Okay,
great.
Okay. Here is what I got several years back, and it explains about the preferential ballot. Actually, PGA, the Producers Guild, uses this same kind of a ballot. Voters are asked to rank the Best Picture nominees in order of their preference. If one nominee garners more than 50% of the first place votes, it will win Best Picture. If, as is more likely, no nominee reaches this threshold, the film with the fewest first place vote is eliminated, and its ballots begin reappropriated to the second place choice. Should no film cross the required 50% plus one ballot threshold, the film with the fewest first place votes is again eliminated. And this kind of explains how that's a really long, complicated process. And it's actually one of the big reasons why we do see a lot of splits between Best Director and Best Picture. I mean, since they've gone with this preferential ballot, they have had more splits than they did in any other year.
Okay.
And Edwin, do you have anything to say on that?
Yeah, I think for so long we were accustomed to picture and director being the same film. I mean, it was just so long. Every once in a while you'd have, what was it, a Driving Miss Daisy and
Born on the 4th of July.
Oliver Stone winning, or Shakespeare in Love winning Best Picture and Spielberg Best Director. But for many years you could kind of count on it being the same. And that's another thing that Ken Henke would always say. He's like, how can the Best Picture not also be the Best Directed Picture? And I was like, yeah, you got a really good point there. And so I've kind of wafted in and out, like every few years I'm like, oh, it's so great having this variety. And then every other 3 or 4 years I'm thinking, oh no, we need consistency. So yeah.
Best Picture Director have only matched up twice since 2015.
Interesting. Take that down, Mike. Let me just get back to the regular. There you go. Okay, thanks. So ran a little long here, like the Oscars do, but choice, Edwin, your choice on Best Film.
Yeah, but nobody got slapped, so it's okay.
Yet. Your choice.
All right, Best Picture. There's a lot of good choices here, several from my top 10. I do think it comes down to The Fabelmans and Everything Everywhere All at Once. As much as I would like to see The Fabelmans win, I do think it's going to be Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think this is going to be one of those kind of, I think it's well deserved. I think it will be kind of this hip choice, kind of like a Silence of the Lambs or Parasite type of choice, where the people that like to celebrate those kind of choices, I'm one of them. As much as I like The Fabelmans, it's kind of nice to see these curveballs come in. I think it kind of keeps things fresh and unexpected, and especially after the last couple of years. Coda was a good movie, but not amazing. I guess wasn't in my top 25, I don't think. And then Nomadland the year before that. It seems like maybe 5 people saw that, and so it was kind of hard to go with that. But I do think this is a film that came out last March, I think, and it's been able to sustain momentum this whole time, and a pretty active campaign from A24. So I think it's going to win probably more awards than it needs. I wish it was spread out a little bit more. I think there's some other great films from this year that might go home empty-handed. Fableman's probably at the top of the list. I think it's going to suffer the Irishman curse and not get anything. But yeah, I'm putting my money on the Daniels. How about you, Mike?
I'm going to share one more quick screen. I did my ballot like I would have voted in the Oscars. I'm actually going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to go with the Fabelmans. I've got Everything Everywhere All at Once down at 5. But if I was voting an Oscar, this is how I would do on my preferential ballots. I think one of the worst films that got nominated this year, and it got a nomination for Best Picture and Best Director, was Triangle of Sadness. It was not a good film. I did not see Avatar or All Quiet on the Western Front, and I'm hoping to see Women Talk. And I'm going to correct something I said before. There was 4 times since 2015 that Best Picture and Director matched up. I forgot about 2 of them. And as we were talking, it's like, oh yeah, Nomadland and Parasite matched up. I forgot about them.
Okay. Hey guys, as we wind down again, Edwin, thanks for staying with me because we ran a little longer than again, like the Oscars will be run longer. If folks want to get in touch with you, and I recommend they do, specifically if they want to see your reviews on a regular basis, what's best bet, Edwin?
Yeah, head over to ashevillemovies.com.
Okay, but also we should mention the other site you mentioned too, which I encourage people to check out. If they'd like to support your efforts and your efforts of the other person you work with, what's that way to reach you?
Well, there's actually a button at the top of ashevillemovies.com that says become a patron. So if you click on that orange button, it'll take you right to the Patreon page, and then then you can start linking your bank account with my bank account, and we'll be fast friends. Okay,
I've done it. So is Mike. And Mike, same thing too. If folks want to get in touch with you, what's the best bet?
Just through Facebook or through you. We always have a lot of connection with helping each other out, but you can find me through Blaine's blog, or just go on Facebook, Mike Martinelli, and send me a Facebook request.
Okay. And I want to thank you guys both, because I just love this discussion of movies. And I used to make a point to see everything, and now I hardly see anything. So thanks. Mike keeps me informed, and Edwin, you keep me informed as well. So I want to thank you both for being my guests on the special edition of the Blaine's World podcast. We'll also like to thank my producer, Cappy Tassetti, and we'll hopefully see you guys in person sometime in the near future. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Okay.